Maybe talk closer to it?
There you go.
There you go.
Thanks
All
for-
right.
Thanks for spitting.
Now it's
into the
on. You
mic.
can hear me now. Dan Tanner, the code enforcement and representing Public Works tonight. The conditions in the zone do allow, with conditions, the storage of a light construction equipment such as backhoe, front end loader, or up to a 10-wheel truck for off-premise contract work by owner or a resident of the property. 10-wheel, as we understand it, it would apply to semis. The trailer portion of it obviously is implied to be part of the 10-wheel. And so as we look at that definition, it would be inclusive of the trailer on that 10-wheel application. After discussion with council and the planner, it would be inclusive of the tractor or the trailer in this application.
Did you say inclusive?
Inclusive, yes.
So it would fall under the 10-wheel?
It would be inclusive of the 10-wheel
Okay.
application, so.
So does that mean since the trailer has, with the truck and the trailer has 18 wheels, that it would not be allowed?
The 10-wheel application, as we discussed the staff, was inclusive of the tractor. Now, for purposes of agricultural that it's applying to, we know that we have agricultural applications that are using trailers as part of their application on their lot, on their property. And so with knowing that we are allowing that in a true agricultural application, I don't know how we deny it in this application under that definition.
Okay.
Okay?
Do you have any, from a city standpoint, is there any other concerns you do have other than, you're saying that it is inclusive, is there anything that you would recommend to see it slightly different, or from your standpoint, are you?
As staff would recommend as part of the conditions, if it's granted, that there's been some damage done to the sidewalk and potentially damage that could be done to the approach. And so staff would recommend as part of the conditions that the approach be torn up, not widened. We are not allowing him to widen it, but the current approach be torn up and the sidewalk that's been damaged be pulled up. And any portion of the sidewalk that could be affected by the weight of the vehicle be pulled up and be replaced, to a heavier standard to be outlined by engineering and public works director. So that would be the staff recommendation as part of the conditions.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
On the home occupation side of things, obviously, the goal is not to allow people to have commercial applications in a residential zone. We know that we have agricultural properties that are technically residential properties, and this is surrounded by residential.
Potential.
And so from the home occupation side of things, as an application, that it would be denied based on that because it is a commercial application on a residential type property.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you. Sure. Yeah, come on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, fully agree that the concrete has been smashed. It actually hasn't been for those trucks because it is construction. It's been the cement trucks coming and going, but 100% that's going to get all that sidewalk's going to get torn up, re-poured, as well as the approach, super thick, and we'd take that on the responsibility if there's any type of a future concern that we would definitely take care of that ASAP. And then all of our use is, although it's a commercial application, it is all off-site. So I don't know if that changes anything with the way the code reads, but I appreciate you guys' thought on the matter, and hopefully you can make these folks' dreams come true. So Thank you.
You know, initially I didn't have a problem with having a couple of 10-wheel tractors. But when I'm hearing that there's also trailers attached to it, it kind of changes things for me, especially if there's a reefer involved, because that creates a problem for the neighbors living behind them.
Yep, it is not a reefer. It is a box. Dry vans. Just a box trailer dry vans.
Can I ask what's a reefer?
That's the refrigerated that makes all the
Runs
noise.
24/7.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They've been an
I-
issue
I might
in
not be the
town
only one, but-
before, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that sounds really loud. So this property is, no commercial use is allowed on that property, that's what I'm hearing?
I believe that's the way the code reads for any business, no commercial type of business to be run out of a home in a residential area. I do believe that the way at least my interpretation of the code, as long as it's an off-site, right, you would be still in a commercial world if you were running a dump truck with a pup connected to it. That'd still be a commercial use, but it would be running off-site. So then it becomes allowable as far as the way I read it, or as if you had construction equipment on your property.
Okay, so I wanted to make sure I had that right, because that's not what I understood before I came here tonight, but,
Sorry.
so what activity then happens in the shop in the back? Because that
Nothing.
looks like it's,
Nothing. It's just, to be honest, if you want to come take a tour of the garage, this is a garage that I'm not even sure they're going to allow their vehicles in.
I'm sorry, Scott.
Well, I mean, you can speak. It's in the culture that they've always grown up in, and the food they cook and everything. Like, they're renting an apartment from me, and they won't cook in the apartment. They will do everything outside because the house is super clean, and the garage is just an extension of their home. If you go in there, you'll see. Once it's all complete, games and things of that nature, and maybe some four-wheelers and some razors and things of that nature. But as far as the trucks, they don't do their own mechanic work. They'll take that all off-site. They don't do their own oil changes or anything of that nature. So it's literally just a storage for them to come and go from. But if you like, I mean, and then they cook a lot.
Okay.
So
I did notice a motor home parked underneath the overhang in well, it's not up on my screen, so I have a hard time explaining it, but the
Sprinter van? There was a Sprinter van, if that's.
the portion that is open space off of the back of the
Yeah.
house,
Yep, that's.
I saw a motor home parked in there
Shouldn't be a.
today.
Oh, that's a, so there's been maybe a box truck, they were selling garage doors today.
Well,
So-
I think it was a motor home, I'm pretty sure.
Motorhome?
No,
There-
no motor home?
I can
Okay.
show you a Sprinter van maybe, a black Sprinter van?
That's the only thing I have.
Here, I can show you a picture of what it looked like today, if that would be helpful, maybe.
Not, okay, you can show it to everybody.
You happen to see white truck under there, that was mine, but.
No, there was something else parked under there earlier, but
Installing garage doors today, and then it's just been her husband there
Yeah.
working. But I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be combative or anything.
No,
but
of course not.
I don't
You don't-
believe there should not have been a motorhome
you
there.
do not sound combative at all. Maybe I was just thinking of another location.
Amy, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
The difference between parking these, right? Like you're just parking your vehicle when you're going to work, and the difference between parking a bus, school bus. What are we talking about? Do you know what I'm saying? Like we allow on bigger lots people to park a school bus when they drive a school bus. We have these two trucks that are parking. They're not delivering out of their house. They're just parking out of their house. Are we talking potatoes? What? Help me out, Dan.
He's the expert.
Obviously, a school bus comes back to the property empty also. But when you look at the weight differences between the two, so a school bus is a 6-wheel vehicle, or semis and tractors, we're talking about 10 to 18. So when we look at the weight difference, that's the determination, because it's the impact of the weight, right?
Impact on what?
Impact on the community. We're talking about the neighborhood, about the roads. We're talking about obviously the infrastructure. That's what we're talking about. Clarification for you, Commissioner Galt, on the commercial application. So I understand you guys are independent drivers? Okay, so therefore the home would be the business. And so with it being the business, by definition under home occupation, they're able to have an office, do their billings and stuff. But the commercial application comes when the thing they use, the transportation product, comes on to their property. That becomes now a commercial business, because it's not just running their office out of there, now it's storing their equipment on the site. So it would be no different than like England or somebody else, that they're operating a trucking line, that they're operating at a commercial property and not a residential property. So that's the application that I see as it relates to a home occupation business.
So the similarity that I'd like to put to this is this would be no different than a farmer that would park his 10-wheeler with a hay trailer behind it. Correct?
Right.
I mean, that's why you are allowing the trailers to be connected to the 10-wheeler, because it is zoned agricultural,
Right.
A2, but it's no different than if they were farmers pulling a piece of farm equipment with a 10-wheeler.
Correct.
So,
They're using it for their farming purposes.
yeah.
So, and exempt obviously under the agricultural law, they're exempt from that, but this one is different because it is running a business out of their home.
Yeah, I like the staff's recommendations on this. I do think that parking them right up against the fence is probably not a good idea for the neighbors. I would like to see at least probably 30 to 50 feet between the end of the trailer and the fence. I don't see it an issue next to the power lines personally, but it looks like they've got enough depth in that lot that they could keep them away from the fence.
And if that's part of the condition, they had parked it there just because they thought that was the best
Yeah,
looking.
furthest away from the
But, because it was the furthest away from the closest neighbor, and then right behind that part of the space, there's actually, just one second, and then that's just there will not be a home back there, so that created the biggest distance. But they can park anywhere in that, if that would be more acceptable, and to the point to where they could almost hide it behind. And then,
Every time I
Teresa.
go home, or my husband go home, we empty, because we deliver so late. So
Teresa, can you come up to the mic to talk, please? Sorry.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm Teresa. Every time we go home, we go empty, because we deliver in Salt Lake or Provo or West Valley City, Utah, whatever, and then we go home empty. We spend like 2 or 3 days, and then back to the road again, like California, Denver, and then 5, 4 days on the road, 6 days, whatever, 1 week, and then we come back 2 or 3 days, and then, empty all the time.
Is
That's what I'm gonna say.
there a plan to fence the front? Like put a gate in or any of that sort of thing?
there's already a fence. They've already actually put the vinyl fence up. It just finished this week as far as on the east side.
Right.
And then the plan is, as budget allows, to continue the fence. I don't know exactly when that will happen or not. It's expensive building right now, but.
Sure, yeah, you're
I
in the
do
middle
know
of
they-
construction,
They
so.
started to come up that, and the plan is to continue on and close it off at some point, but I couldn't tell you that that's going to happen
No,
in 6 months
I
or
was
in a
just
year from
asking
now.
about if there was a plan. I'm not in a rush. It's
No,
just-
no, I'm just trying to put all of our cards up.
Okay.
So I have a question as to what it's sitting on now. So that is that dirt? Is that compacted road base? What is
It
in
is
that drive aisle right now?
Recycled road base
Road
or
base and then-
recycled asphalt.
And then we were able to get Geneva started bringing in late at night, which I'm sure probably people weren't happy about, but that was the only time. They brought in a bunch of recycled road base.
Yeah,
Or
okay.
road meal.
Okay, because my only concern is like if you're parking it back there next year, we don't want to. Over time, it's going to be coming in and out. We don't want to erode or get that lower and then cause drainage issues flowing from your side to other neighbors and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's my only concern
So I would think
with
there's
this,
probably
honestly. But
6 to 8 inches of new fill that would be compacted on that space back there.
okay,
In my experience with that rototilled asphalt is it's still porous, but it doesn't grow anything.
It's asphalt.
Yeah,
If you come over and the plan is at one point, at least in the back area where they will come in and make their U-turn to roll it, and it's just from the little bit of use already, it's
Starting to compact.
exactly like you're saying, sir.
yeah.
All right, I just want to add to the conversation. We have, Amy has an assistant that's been helping her in her interim role, Garth Day, and he had some, do you have something to add, Garth? Might be helpful. Give us some context.
Yeah, my name is Garth, and I'm a contract consultant planner helping with some of these. And just brand new to this. I mean, not to planning, but to this particular item. And reviewed the staff review, and I would recommend, if you're going to approve this, a couple of conditions added to it, as well as the setbacks. The setbacks are going to be a little difficult to enforce, so need to have something to make that 50-foot setback work. You talked about the reefers. I think one condition of no reefers being allowed. These things evolve over time sometimes. And with home occupations and people doing business out of their home, we of course hope they're successful, and sometimes as they grow and become successful, they grow and become successful, and they'll grow out of the conditions. So I think perhaps limiting the amount of trucks on the front end would probably be a good condition. And as Dan pointed out, the access issues coming off of 3300 South, not just dealing with the approach, but maybe fixing that sidewalk to having it engineered so that it'll handle a truck. Because I'm not sure it was created, the approach is probably created just for residential traffic, which is just cars and so forth. So my recommendation would be to, along with what the staff put in your packet, maybe just add a couple more conditions of the reefer trucks, limiting the number of them, and fixing that approach. So anyway, I hope that helps.
Yes, great. Thank you, Garth.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or? All right, well, if no other questions, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve conditional use permit for parking 2 10-wheel trucks on an A2 lot on parcel or property at 3188 West, 3300 South, parcel number 150920112, with the following conditions: that any violations of the West Haven City nuisance ordinance will result in revocation of the business license and or conditional use permit, that they have a rear setback of 50 feet from the back property line, that they are limited to 2 trucks on the property at once, and that all approach and sidewalk is removed and installed with city engineering approval for the heavy truckload.
And then the
Do you
no
want to,
refrig-
real quick, do you want to add the no refrigerated?
And no
trucks?
refrigeration style trailers.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Did we get George online for a vote? I couldn't tell. George, are you online? Okay, we'll move on with the vote without George, but we have a, all right, motion carries.
Aye.
Okay, all right, unanimous, so motion carries. You have your conditional use permit.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, moving to item number 6, grant approval for a subdivision amendment for approximately 2404 South, 2050 West, affecting parcels 115, or 151320007, 151320012, and 151320006. Ron Kemp for Bowman and Kemp. Hello.
Hello, folks. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but I'm Ron Kemp with Bowman and Kemp. This property is the Circle R subdivision, just west of Bowman and Kemp Manufacturing. And we're asking for an amendment to change lot lines and combine lots. The perimeter of the subdivision will not change. There's a pond, retention pond, sitting at the end of this subdivision. And Bowman and Kemp collectively owns that, along with Wilson Floor Coatings. And Wilson Floor Coatings, we want to divide some of the lot into their property and some of the lot into Bowman and Kemp's property. In addition to that, we'll be adjusting the pond, but that's probably not for this meeting. That's probably for the city engineer. I don't know if you're familiar, if you have any questions.
I think it's pretty straightforward. Does anybody, Amy, anything?
On the docket here, there is one additional parcel that's a really tiny little triangle. It's 151320014. I noticed that's not listed on your agenda here, but it's just a little tiny piece that will help clean it up to make everything one tax identification number.
It is on the updated staff memo,
Okay.
151320014.
This will, when Wilson Floor Coatings purchased their property, some of their buildings are encroaching into the other parcel. So this will actually help that situation by changing the lot lines around his buildings to make them correct, as well as combine the lot for Bowman and Kemp so we can adjust the pond.
I guess that would be my question. I'm not an engineer, but what do you mean by adjusting the pond?
So we own the old soccer building, and we want access into the back of that building. The pond is really close to that building. So I've been dealing with Ed Manone on adjusting the pond so that the volume of the pond would stay the same. We would just shift it into an L-shaped pattern instead of a long rectangular pattern, and that would push it away from my building to where I could put rails in there, load steel on it, and get in and out of the access of the building. But the volume of the pond, I've actually had Gardner Engineering design a new pond layout, and I'm working with Ed Manone on that. So that's what I mean by adjusting the pond. Okay. And we need, there's big issues with this pond. A few years ago, Weber County owned the lot, but yet West Haven City, I believe, has the responsibility of cleaning the pond out, because when I bought the lot adjacent to it, I wanted to put a fence around everything so I could fence in my property and adjust fence lines, but it would have blocked anybody from getting to that pond. So I actually called the city and discussed that with them. And that's what sparked this whole event. They wouldn't have access to get to their pond because there's not access on the other side of the lot. It's somewhat landlocked. But as we've discussed it over time, Bowman and Kemp and Wilson Floor Coatings collectively bought the lot together from the county. So now we own the lot, which is going to allow us to change these lot lines. I think it's in the best interest of all parties, including the city. And of course, it's in my best interest to move the pond.
Would it be appropriate to include city engineer approval if there was a motion to approve? Or does it need to be there?
I don't really think it needs to be there. I mean, I'm just talking about basically
A lot line adjustment,
Yeah.
so.
that a yes, that you're thinking, oh. My associate says yes, he does think that there should be.
Subject to the city engineer's approval and detention basin.
That seems logical.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Doesn't matter to me. I'm definitely working on that with him.
So what type of pond is this? Is this just a naturally occurring retention pond?
No, this is a
or-
retention pond that was put in when the subdivision was built, so all the drainage flows to this pond.
Okay. So I pulled it up on Google Maps. I'm assuming it used to be Details Pet Grooming, and
Used to
now
be-
it's
I'm sorry, used to be what?
it's just listing that building that you're saying is Wilson Floor Coverings as a pet grooming business. Was that the old business that's there?
Wilson Floor Coatings is the company that owns the lot, but
Oh,
they're
okay. And
renting
they're
out.
leasing it to the pet grooming company.
Yeah, I think they're leasing that.
So that green area that I'm seeing on the Google Maps, that's the pond. I'm assuming. You don't have it up there. I've just pulled it up on my tablet.
No, it's, there you go. Yeah, that shaded area is where we would move the
Okay.
pond to, and then we've adjusted the lot lines around his building. Yeah, that's, it disappeared, but. So that gray area, that shaded area, also, this pond does not have sufficient access for the city to come clean it out. And I'm also dealing with the city engineer about granting access and that shaded area would be the access for the city to access the pond.
Any other concerns, questions? If not, are we ready to move forward with a motion?
Sure. I'll move to grant approval to a subdivision amendment to 2404 South, 2050 West, affecting parcels 151-320007, 151-1320012, 151-3200014, and 151-3200006 on, with the condition of the city engineer's approval.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, it's a unanimous motion carries. Site plan, does this need to go to city council, Amy?
No.
Oh, then site plan, okay, it's approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, moving to item number 7, discussion and action on a preliminary site plan for a 2-lot subdivision located approximately 2457 West, 3300 South, parcel 08-028-0082, applicant Steve Austin Construction. Do we have someone here? You'll just state your name and address, please.
Certainly. Personal address or business address?
Does it matter, personal or business?
Amy?
Yeah.
Personal?
Business address? My name is Edie Loker. I'm a project coordinator for Steve Austin Construction, and our business address is 3892 South 5500 West in Hooper. Steve Austin wanted to be here. Unfortunately, he had a business conflict appointment, so I prepared everything for the permit and for the submission packet. So I'm very familiar with the project. And it will be it's currently got one structure, and it will be just 2 lot. Will be on lot number 2, building a house, which will be considered a production or spec house. And it'll be in complete conformity with the other homes that are built to the rear of the property. Similar materials, similar plan. It'll probably be a Rambler, hardy front, rock or brick. Conformity with color schemes.
Are they going to tear down the existing home that's there?
There's no plan to tear that existing home
That'll stay
down.
there, okay.
It's on a separate, it would be on a separate lot with this approval.
So the new home will be on lot 1?
That's correct.
Okay.
Let me
And then
just-
lot 2, the existing home will remain?
Where that existing structure is, yes.
Okay.
And we do have, the secondary will serve, and everything's been submitted for that. We've surrendered our water share and have everything in order for the water with regard to secondary. And all will serve letters for utilities, culinary, sewer. Everything's been obtained and submitted to West Haven.
Okay, so I didn't follow that all. So the lot 2 has got 2 existing buildings on there.
Let me just look.
I think it's a home and a detached garage, if I'm
Yeah, there is an
correct.
existing home and a detached garage.
Okay.
On lot 2. Lot
Okay.
1 is the prospective lot for the new home.
Okay.
And we have put a little bit of privacy fencing already, so there'll be a clear delineation between the properties with vinyl privacy fencing as well.
Okay, lot 1 looks kind of small.
It's 0.292 acre lot as designed here. 12,713 square feet.
Do you know what the setback will be between the existing building and that new property line?
The fronts or the side setbacks?
setback, yeah.
Whatever is required for the city for that zoning will stay in compliance with that.
Okay, so you'll just, if we have to move it over, say to the west, you'll just grow to the south?
Right,
Okay.
right. Whatever's required for that city requirement. On the side isn't usually 10 feet. It might be a little bit different since that's on 3300 South, but we can double check that. We always are able to make that
We're
adjustment.
zoned A2 or R2.5, yeah, I think it's 10 or 15 on an R2.5. I'd have to look up the ordinance.
Is it a total between the two, or is it evenly split, or any combination?
I think it's a minimum.
Minimum? Okay. We have several plans in our portfolio that really similarly match the other homes that are in the area that have recently been finished and occupied. So it definitely won't stand out. It'll blend seamlessly in with the,
And it actually looks like an anomaly now without, because it's all density around it, and then it's
right.
got a
right.
lot of,
Especially the chain link fence.
Yeah, it'll be a nice complement, and we've done a lot to clean up a lot of the existing debris and other materials that were left behind by the previous owner.
I actually think it'll add to the aesthetics along that road there. All right, any other questions? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we, are we recommending this? Or are we just, okay, that we recommend approval of a preliminary site plan for a 2-lot subdivision located at approximately 2457 west, 3300 south for parcel 080280082, applicant Steve Austin Construction LLC.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 8. I believe should I read it, or do you want to explain a little bit?
Actually, I'm going to have Garth
someone
explain
here? Okay.
what's going on, and unless he wants me to explain the issues that we have going on right now with this particular application.
Madam Chair. So this is a preliminary site plan for the LWE electrical warehouse type building. And when I got to review it, there were some things in the site plan that I didn't have access to, so I apologize for that. So I had written a new staff memo. However, a recommendation still stands. I do believe that there's significant issues on this that would require us to table it and review it a little further, primarily being the access. Our engineering department has raised issues on the size and location and how it's structured. Some of the comments that I made about the building elevations, when I received the site plan this afternoon, I was able to identify those, and they do meet that particular requirement that the staff said they didn't. The signage, I think we just need to revisit what a signage plan is versus just how signage is shown on an elevation. I would also submit that the landscape plan is not necessarily a landscape plan, and that's a requirement that you have to provide that. They do show landscaping, but I think a landscape plan is, and if that were the only issue, I think that we'd be fine, because we could figure that out. The alarming, not alarming, but I think the issue that really needs to be addressed is the temporary access road into the site. Not really sure how the ownership of that is structured. We don't have a title report, which we need to get. I think that if our recommendation is the Planning Commission probably look at this as more of a permanent solution, given you don't have any idea when the future road in front's going to be built. Could be next year, could be 10 years. And an investment like this, a building like this, I think we just need to have that access road be as adequate as possible for public safety, for the amount of traffic that's going to be going there. And some of those answers we don't have yet. And the fire district has raised some issues about that and how that access is going to work. So with that, staff's recommendation is that you table this and we get more information and bring it back at your next meeting or a subsequent meeting when we have that figured out.
As that future road, so what you're looking at on your screen, that it says future road by West Haven City, that may or may not happen. We haven't acquired any property whatsoever, and so they can't rely on that because there's no telling when that's going to happen. With the temporary access road, the problem too with that is how wide it needs to be able to fit a fire truck and a semi-truck on the road at the same time if there's an emergency. And it's not taking into account with that. And there's, right now, there's easements. Based upon what Ed, our engineer, is saying, is that it's not clear regarding whether or not there's anything but easements to be able to access it. And so that's a pretty huge issue that needs to be worked out before we can really move forward with a preliminary.
I've got some questions for the owner if it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Just about this. Do you know, go ahead and state your name.
Tucker Jardine, Lynn Woodward Electric.
So with the temporary access road, what is the footage of that width-wise, side to side?
It is 22.1 feet, and it is deeded property. It's not an easement.
It's not an easement.
It's deeded property.
Okay.
So, yeah, as the staff member said, there's a lot of that information on this memo that was answered previously that. Yeah. I don't know where the miscommunication happened, but.
Did you have any communication with the fire department or the marshal at all about that road?
Beforehand we did, and then apparently he was told not to give an answer to us, and then just, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, he sent something out that said he was thinking 32 feet.
Instead of 22?
Instead of 22, and I don't know where that requirement comes from. That's not typical. It's larger than typical.
It actually is typical.
Okay. regardless, we have been in contact with neighbors, and honestly, I do have a lot of this is not super relevant since it was noted that these were answered, but on the very back page, it kind of shows the,
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. So we need more paper.
on the very back page, it shows a preliminary design that we've come up with that allows for obviously two semis side by side, not directly in the entrance, but if they were back off the road, that would be fine. It also shows what we've already negotiated with that neighbor to acquire that property either on a permanent or temporary basis, and that's dependent on this road. That allows us to get a semi truck in and should allow this property to move forward. But in saying that, we do agree that there are some things that need to be worked out, but the vast majority of the staff review has already been answered. And so we would like to get preliminary approval with that as a condition, that all of these other items that are noted, I mean, one's a dumpster location, that's a pretty easy thing. We would suggest that we could get the preliminary approval so we can move forward with design based on the fact that we can put conditions on a preliminary approval and condition it that these things get worked out satisfactorily to all parties involved.
My concern with this picture that you've provided is that the vehicles that are shaded out are not actually vehicles that are operating on the road. They are parked there.
Okay.
So that's a concern of mine, that if there's on-street parking that's allowed, how does that now work with what you've drawn?
Well, and we need to massage this, obviously, and if we need to acquire another 10 feet from that property owner for so far back, we have a very good relationship with him, and I have no doubt that we'll be able to do that.
Again, staff has pretty significant concerns about making sure that the application is complete, and this access issue is a pretty big one. I mean, with what happens if they can't acquire that? What happens, then the building would have no access whatsoever. And I mean, if they can acquire it, great. And frankly, it's fixable. This is fixable.
Yeah.
But, those things need to be fixed before it moves forward. I would ask you to table it and not grant preliminary with conditions.
Is that not the reason for a preliminary approval, to work through get some of these issues worked through?
Well, but the thing is, the application needs to be complete, and right now, it's not. You're missing the signage. There's signage issues, there's landscaping issues, and this access issue is the biggest issue.
So, okay. So, in your opinion, we need to provide what more on a signage plan and what more on a landscaping plan than what has been provided?
Well, those things we can work out, in a separate meeting or, phone call. But, according to the code, it's landscaping plan shall contain a table showing types, numbers, and percentages of each landscape material, as well as the percentage of total site landscaping. With the signage, it's not necessarily the most complete. It's just not complete as to, what, you have the sign on what appears on the side of the building there, but
I apologize that it's so small. I got this report an hour prior to this meeting, so I was trying to get stuff printed off, and that's the only access to the printer that I had.
Yeah, typically a signage plan will include like the measurements of the sign, the type, like what the material's going to be made out of, how it's going to be mounted, that kind of stuff. It'll
Yeah.
show that detail. And I
Which our plan was to show the planning commission our preliminary design, and then further flesh out this plan over the next few weeks in order to get final approval of our site. Right.
I think the issue I have with it, and I think this is like, it's on its way, it's looking really good, is this a safety issue with the traffic, a traffic study or whatever it needs to do to make sure that that road's gonna be okay and your access road is gonna be wide enough. It's gonna be safe for the community. That road is a way busy road. Like, and we've just put more traffic on that road than it needs, with everything that's being built below it. And that's why I think tabling it would actually do you a favor at this point in time, because I think without tabling it, I mean, I would vote no going forward without, if I had to be forced to go to a vote today, I wouldn't vote for it because of those concerns on it. So I think tabling right now for me would be a positive for you, to just table it until that can just be addressed through the fire marshal or whatever needs to be done. And then we have that security of knowing that, hey, that's been taken care of. That's a big safety issue for the city and for everyone involved around it. So that's kind of where I stand on that. I don't, just my thoughts on that.
I think I'm with you. I really think this is a great application of the property that you've bought. I don't know that anyone has exception with that. I think we resolved that the last meeting. I think solely our concern now is this access road. The signage is a formality. The landscaping is a formality. I mean, that's not just for your project. That's on all projects. I feel bad that you're coming back and forth, but the reason that we do this is because if we don't, someone will try to usurp it and go around it. And so I really do think that, the work that you've put in is quite extraordinary on finding something to put on this property. I live a mile or two straight west of this, and so I'm familiar with 1800 South. That's my biggest. I don't think it's an issue as long as these concerns are taken care of, because I see the traffic that comes and goes on that. But I am concerned because I see a lot of parking that happens on that road, and
there is. I've seen.
My number one concern is 1800 is already a mess when it comes to 1900 West, and so there's people that get very impatient on that road. And I would love to see this work, and I want to see this work, but we've definitely got to make sure that there's either some sort of contractual agreement with the neighbor that's gonna, deed you the property or whatever's gonna happen there, and that you have some sort of traffic study that can prove to Ed that this is a safe and assured thing. And I think I can speak for the majority of the council when we're excited for this, but we're not gonna rush it just for that. And we're thankful for your patience in this too, but we definitely want to make sure that this is the right way forward, knowing that future road isn't assured at this moment in time.
And we want the right situation too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to bring trucks in there. We want it to be safe. We want it to fit with. We want it to be the best situation.
You want to be good neighbors.
Exactly. And we've made good strides with the neighbors with that. So I don't know if this is a question for this council or somebody else, but why is the main road being put on hold besides budgetary issues where honestly I'm 50% of the landowner? I can help that.
There's two in the city that are in the planning phase, and I know is this a UDOT or a city road?
It is a
UDOT.
possible city road, but there's property acquisitions that have to happen, and that hasn't happened yet. There are other projects that are currently being worked on that are at a higher priority than this one.
I would just say with Commissioner Hepworth's comment, the dangerous nature of that 1900 and 1800 intersection is, I think this should push that a little bit higher on the list, in my
Yeah.
personal opinion.
The problem is that property acquisitions are complicated.
Oh, I totally understand that. I would think the process would start.
Yeah. Well, 1800 and 1900 is a really hard
It's a
thing
disaster.
because 1900 is a UDOT road,
Yeah.
and they have their standards on traffic lights and stuff like that. It's been a concern of mine since moving out here.
Yeah.
But, you know, I agree with Amy. I think the property acquisition thing is a tough road to go down as well. So I think it's, you know, it's getting there, but
Yeah.
we can't as a commission guarantee that it's going to happen.
No, and I wouldn't ask for a guarantee, just know my willingness as the primary landowner in this whole acquisition phase.
Yeah.
I'm very willing to work with the city.
Yep.
So,
Is this one that, how big is this building? Does this get passed on to city council for approval?
No,
No.
it won't.
And is this one where we could do preliminary and final on the same agenda
I
meeting
believe so.
at some point? Okay.
oh, that would be helpful.
So we could, if you get everything figured out, you know, we figure all this out and come back. You know, if we were to prove it tonight, you'd still have to come back for another meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you get all your ducks in a row and we figure this out, again, I'm on the same page as Commissioner Member Hepworth. Like, I don't see an issue with this. I do think that access is concerning. And honestly, for you, we don't want someone to come in and say, you know, start picking it apart later. And then you've invested all this money in it and then you have to stop or pause or not do it. So, I'd say get all your ducks in a row, get all this figured out, and then come back and we'll try and put both preliminary and final on the same agenda. And it's,
Oh, that's
I guess if you were
perfect.
coming back on another meeting, but there are still things you need to do to get that to happen. So,
Oh, yeah.
so just get your landscaping plan, and that shows all the details of, you know, we're going to plant these trees here. This is how many are going to go there. This is the type of material we're going to put. Has a table showing all that. Get your signage plan that shows the materials you're going to use for your sign, the dimensions, how you're going to mount it, those details, and then have those ready. And then obviously work on the access and then come back and get that done. So,
Okay, well, we can do that. Well, I appreciate your help.
yeah.
Yeah, hey, this is George. I would like to bring up one more concern when I'm looking through the preliminary site plan, if I may. And that is, there's in the parking, for the number of spaces calculated for parking, we use the allocation for a warehouse. However, last time we met, the approval for this was given based on it being electrical and heating appliances and fixtures, sales and service. So, and a warehouse is clearly not allowed in C2. So we've got a disconnect between the calculations of the parking spaces for the preliminary site plan and the designation for what this business is. And if we go back, we look and at the table in 157, 631, I believe, the closest thing I can find is retail sales and or services. And, you know, that would require them to have 124 parking spaces. So I think that's one of the things, or one of the conflicts that I see that we really ought to get resolved before we approve a preliminary site plan, whether that's a waiver and allow them to have fewer parking spaces for this business, or I'm not sure what process that would be, Amy. You'd know better than I.
We actually did look at this regarding the parking, and we think that because of their description of what they're doing, because nobody, you know, customers are not coming to this site, that they're more of a wholesale distributor. Is that correct?
Yeah, more or less.
And so under that designation with the parking, under that section that you just cited, it's actually the same calculations as warehouse, and so they do meet the parking. But it just needs to have that changed in the, that's one of those things in the staff report that just need to be changed.
Yeah, I think it just need to be clarified, because I don't want somebody coming back to us in the future and say, hey, you designated these guys for a warehouse, which isn't allowed in C2, and they have this number of parking spaces, and now we want that same designation. I think just needs to be clarified and quite clear how we're doing that
Well, I remember.
and recorded that way.
I remember speaking about this topic last time, and the hangup is that for some reason we were referring to this as a warehouse versus a building.
Well,
And a lot of that came from the way they submitted and the way we were responding, where if we start from now, we're referring to it as headquarters or a building, I think.
well, it's actually the electrical and heating appliances and fixture sale and service is what you guys termed it as.
Yeah.
And so based upon that is why we looked at wholesale distributor with the parking. But we'll make sure that that's changed in the staff report so that it clearly, like George suggested, clearly states that that's what the designation is.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at, is that I think as long as on our staff reports, it's clear of that's the designation, not a warehouse. I think if anyone were to come back and say, look, you did it for this person, well, we did it because it's classified as this.
Yeah.
So,
Excellent.
To be clear, the parking is the same.
yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I'm a little disappointed that at the last meeting, nothing was brought up about the general plan and the surrounding area of this thing, because
Well, you are a planning commissioner.
Well,
You
I
could have done
know,
that,
but-
Jeff.
I do blame myself. I'm quite upset with myself, but I think it should have also been in the staff report. But yeah, in the future, I will look at that a little bit harder. Because the council made it quite clear last week that they want to follow the general plan.
I'm excited for the future.
Oh, yeah, me too, Amy. You're going to love me, not that
I
you
think
already do.
the hard part about this property is it does border commercial. I mean, we're just not seeing it because of the canal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. It's kind of one of those buffer zone things that we go over, and I think where they've pushed this building is probably the best case scenario out of all of it. I mean, honestly, it's closer to the commercial, other than the one house that who knows down the road what's gonna become of that. Or
The one that we own right there.
do you own the home as well?
Yeah, we own that home.
Okay.
So eventually we're gonna demolish that and
Yeah.
sell the property off.
Yeah.
So
If you're going to live there, no noise complaints, okay?
I'll make sure.
Thanks again.
Thank you. I appreciate your help.
Yeah.
Amy, I do have a question though, and this is a side note. On those boulevards that were there's the two boulevards in the city that are in the plan for developing, the one to go up to Hinckley and this one. I thought we weren't gonna have driveways leading up to the boulevards. So my question is, I see in the future left-hand turns coming in and out of there, and that kind of frightens me a little bit. But it's nothing to do with this tonight, but that was just maybe my impression when we were talking originally about those boulevards.
You know, I wish that I could say I remember one way or the other, but
Would this
I
be
do not.
would this be under the driveway scenario, or would this just be an entrance to a business where it's zoned commercial? Because and I wasn't part of the commission at the time that you had that discussion, but was the concern a residence driveway coming onto the boulevard versus a commercial?
Yeah, I wish I could
Just
say,
not coming
you know, okay, I'm just gonna put it out there. There's only so much information I have in my brain this evening, and it all has to do with what's on the agenda and not.
No,
I can look into that for you guys, but I can't speak to that tonight.
Okay.
Was it just
Yeah, I
a
just thought before we
discussion?
get really buried in this, it might be good to understand. That was just my understanding, and I'm mostly thinking of the one to Hinckley, but I think this was gonna be a similar, without entrances and exits, just having it be a straight boulevard. So just food for thought to put on your plate.
I remember the discussion, but I don't know that we did any action on it. I remember talking about it.
I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that we make that decision. I don't know that's something. Do you have something, Garth?
Yeah, just, I would guess, and this is, that you would probably do access controls very similar to what UDOT does, which is they provide access points on these major roads at certain lengths. Whether it's an access into a commercial building like this, or if you have a subdivision that comes in, they separate them out and control the access. Because what you don't want is every 100 feet.
Four-way.
Right.
Every 100 feet in access. So
Right.
my guess is that's what the discussion was, but not knowing, because I haven't been there, but I would encourage you to look at that on these larger four-lane roads, to have the access control points at some kind of standard, whether it's 500 or 600 feet. What does UDOT do, Jim? 500 to 660. Yeah, so in that range, you would have access points. But,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I'm
Just food
guessing
for
that's what
thought.
the discussion was.
Yeah, it's just food for thought. Just as we're starting to get into these and talking about these future roads, it'd be good to have an understanding of what access is going to look like. So, all right.
Ready for a motion?
Yep, I'm ready for motion.
I'll make a motion to table item number 8. I think, do I need to say the whole thing on this one? I will. All right. To grant, table the item number 8 to grant preliminary site plan approval for an electrical and heating appliances and fixture sales and service.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a couple of seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Okay, item number 8 is tabled. Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 9, discussion and action on road vacation. To approve a road vacation of Hunter Drive located approximately 4275 South Midland Drive, parcels 084750025, 084750010, and 084750011. Applicant Walmart, Galloway and Company. Do we have someone here representing Walmart? And online too, and we have online and representation here. If you want to introduce yourself, and then the online, if you guys want to interject, if you have some questions. Do you want to start, Amy, first, or do you
yeah,
have
if that's
something?
okay.
Do you mind just giving Amy? You mind having
Yeah,
a
why
seat,
don't you-
Amy?
you want to just say who you are real quick and for the record? And
Yeah, Spencer Hymas, 621 East, 350 North Bountiful, here with Galloway on behalf of Walmart.
Okay, take a seat, just right there in the front row, and Amy's going to give us a little briefing.
so these three, number 9, number 10, number 11 are all the same, kind of, not the same action, but they're all the same project and they're very interconnected. You guys have seen this before. We had the public hearing on the road vacation and you tabled all three things so that, to give the city some time to figure out what was going to possibly happen with the road if you vacated it. At this point, the position of the city is one, it is a public road. It was dedicated back in, I believe, 2007. So if anything's going to be done to move it, to shift it, it does have to be vacated. And then there was the question of, all right, is it going to be a private road or is it going to be a public road? How the city is wanting to proceed is that it's going to be a public road moving forward. There's the picture of it, basically looking at realigning it so that they can put a bigger Walmart building, actually. So you have so that's the way that the decision to move forward is that to have this vacated, and then it's going to be rededicated in the new alignment as a public road. And so the road vacation, staff is asking that you recommend approval of the road vacation of Hunter Drive. The subdivision amendment is that you grant approval of, so the road vacation goes to the city council. The subdivision amendment, you guys can grant approval of that, and the preliminary site plan approval goes to the city council next because it's bigger than 40,000 square feet. So but the subdivision amendment is that you grant approval of the amended commercial subdivision with the condition that the city council approves the road vacation of Hunter Drive, and that the preliminary site approval be recommended approval to the city council based upon the road vacation being approved, and also the subdivision amendment going forward.
So should we just take these at one at a time, each
Yes,
item
you'd
separately?
need to take
But
things
they all
one at a
kind of
time.
fit together, so.
They absolutely all
Okay.
fit together, and they all, move forward together. I don't know if you have any questions. like I said, you guys did deal with this back,
That was a while ago.
They're back in February?
Yeah.
Because I was out of town and doing it via Zoom. I was down in Vegas, so.
And I feel like we came to a consensus on the road vacation, so I don't have any questions on the road vacation, if anyone else does.
I kind of sort of do, just only because of,
Sorta.
Kind of, sort of?
Yeah, that's
because of the
kinda,
way
sorta.
it relates to the other documents.
Okay, do you want to step up to the microphone and then are we ready to ask him some questions? Is that?
And let me just say, I had some real concerns with this the first time you brought it back. My concerns have been addressed, so I'm good, except your documents that go with this, not necessarily with the road vacation, but with the other documents that go along with it.
Which ones? With the site plan
The site plans,
or with the subdivision amendment?
the subdivision amendment, the one that shows the,
It's still showing the existing, the joggle that the existing Hunter Drive does. Is that what you're referring to,
yes.
Commissioner Galt?
And it shows that, Hunter Drive will be a private right-of-way. And so,
Wait, can you look at the bottom right corner as to which sheet?
Wi-Fi is killing me.
two might be,
His hotspot.
Right there. What? Nope. Right there.
can you,
Is that what you're referring to, Russ?
I believe that's it. I think there were several of them, but right up in the,
Can you zoom in?
where it says sheet 4,
Where it says sheet.
okay.
Yeah.
No, that's not the one, because anyway,
Yeah, this one says roadway dedication for West Haven.
it's some of the documents, I should have printed it out, but some of them say that it's going to be a private right-of-way.
Scroll down.
If I may, our understanding is that it is going to be public. That is our intent. That has been our intent from the beginning, but we have also worked with the city in trying to work out other conversations in the event that the desire was for it to be private. But our understanding at this point, with conversations with various members of city staff, is that they are also on board with the idea of it being a public road. So we're going to vacate what's currently public. We're realigning it. We did provide the updated exhibit. It might have been you, Commissioner Galt, that asked for an updated exhibit that did a better job of articulating what was existing and how it was going to be changed, which was the figure that you had up there earlier with the red and the blue. And that is what we are proposing as part of the vacation, so that we can amend it to a better alignment there that you see in that exhibit there.
I would,
Spencer, I'd like to interject real quick. This is Sid Biddle. I'm the project manager, one of the project engineers on the project. You've also got Maggie Corridor, who's our design lead, and then Brandon Alley, who's the engineer of record on the project and managing principal for our team. But I would like to clarify, and I apologize, council member, I didn't get your name. It's kind of hard to see online, so I do apologize, but I do see where you're relating to. I believe it's related to item 11 on the agenda, and it is indeed related to the site plans. It's C1.1-1, C1-2, I believe C2 or C3-0, where it does say private. That was meant to be corrected. And we had an updated plan set that did correct that. I do not know that we actually got that into the record in time. So that would be on us from that perspective, but it is meant to be a public right of way, and that will need to be corrected in our documents moving forward.
Yes, and I have full confidence that. I just wanted to make sure that as we approve this tonight, that we make mention of that, so that anyone who goes back through the record will know that we all said that.
Perfect.
I would-
Because,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, sorry, just because these documents in the packet become a part of the historical record. So if we don't make mention that we've made that minor correction, then the record would show that we approved it as private. So it's maybe kind of a technicality, but I want to make sure we get that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and
I was
yeah,
just gonna-
apologies.
I was just going to say, I would recommend that part of your motion be that, like that with the amended commercial subdivision, that you'd grant approval of the amended commercial subdivision with the condition that the city council approves the road vacation of Hunter Drive and the rededication of Hunter Drive as a public road. And do that for, like the preliminary site plan, and also that you recommend approval of the road vacation of Hunter Drive as long as there is a road dedication, rededication of Hunter Drive. And then,
Yes, that's what I want to make sure we do.
When she's ready, you can do that.
Thanks for jumping through that hoop with me.
Okay, so on 9, any other questions? We can kind of take them one at a time. Ready for a motion on 9 if everyone's comfortable moving forward?
I'll make a motion to approve the road vacation of Hunter Drive, located approximately 4275 South Midland Drive, parcel number 084750025, 084750010, and 084750011. That we give approval to vacate the road at Hunter Drive, and then
you recommend?
recommend that we redeed as a public road.
Second.
Is this, wait, pardon me, before we move forward, is this the one where we have to rededicate it? That's a different one, okay.
A different one. This is just recommend to city council.
Okay.
Recommend approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Commissioner Reed. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Okay, motion carries on number 9. Moving to agenda item number 10. Discussion and action on commercial subdivision amendment to approve the subdivision amendment for Walmart Commercial Subdivision located at approximately 4275 South Midland Drive, parcel 084750025, 084750010, and 084750011, applicant Walmart, agent Galloway and Company. Any further explanation, or is it, we kind of covered it in previous discussions? Anything to add, Amy?
No, not unless somebody has a question.
Do we need any conditions with this one, or pretty straightforward?
Is this the one for the road vacation, Amy?
This is
one I
the
attached
subdivision amendment,
Yeah.
so it should be.
With the approval?
That we
And-
rededicate.
So you would grant, the planning commission grants approval of the amended commercial subdivision with the condition that the city council approves the road vacation of Hunter Drive, and then my suggestion was, and the rededication of Hunter Drive.
As a public roadway.
Yes.
Are we ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion. Let's do it.
Okay, let's see if I can do this right. Okay, I move that we approve the subdivision amendment for the Walmart Commercial Subdivision located at approximately 4275 South Midland Drive, parcels number 084750025 and 084750010 and 084750011, with the condition that the city council approves the road vacation of Hunter Drive, and that Hunter Drive is rededicated as a public road.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I didn't hear George.
I'm sorry.
Great, thank you. Usually you have a powering aye, so, okay. Any nays? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries on agenda item number 10. Moving on to agenda item number 11, discussion and action on a preliminary site plan to recommend preliminary site plan approval for a retail store and fuel center, Walmart Inc. Same address as the previous agenda items. Since it's over 40,000 square feet, this one will go to city council. Any further comments, questions that weren't addressed previously? Just seems like not much to say for such a big project, but I think we've kind of been working on this for a while.
Well, and you guys had a pretty extensive discussion when it first came
Right.
up.
Yeah, it just might come to surprise if somebody's just hearing about this, that, that this is a big project, but there's been a lot of work behind the scenes, Amy, Alika, prior to this, so we appreciate everybody's efforts.
Did the size of the store change? Did you guys go with the bigger size, or is it the same?
It should be the same as what we were showing in there before.
Okay.
I mean, it is bigger than.
That's confirmed correct.
2007.
Okay, this is a super Walmart, it's the typical,
Yeah.
I guess.
The reason why they're realigning it, so back in 2007, when they dedicated it to begin with, the store was smaller. Now the store's bigger, and that's why they're wanting to realign the road to make that lot bigger site.
Okay.
all right, if there's no further questions, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we recommend preliminary site plan approval to the city council for the property located at 4725 South Midland Drive,
I
parcels
mean, 47,
Oh.
or 4275.
4275 South Midland Drive. Parcels 0847500025, 0847500010, and 0847500011, based on the condition that the vacation of Hunter Drive be approved, and that the, what was it?
Is that 10? We
let's
need to
see.
go to 11.
Commercial subdivision amendment be approved
Is that
as
right?
well.
What's that? This
Is
is,
that the
this is
same
number
one?
11. But he did say preliminary site plan approval.
They
but-
don't have to approve the
Oh, they don't have to
amended
approve.
commercial
Oh, okay.
subdivision.
So just with the condition that the city approve the vacation of Hunter Drive, and that, again, we make sure that that Hunter Drive is dedicated as a public roadway.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second by Commissioner Galt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Motion carries for agenda item number 11. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 12. We have a public hearing to consider an amendment to the moderate income housing resolution. Amy, would you like to give us a background and context?
So, during the course of ALCA looking at the cluster subdivision ordinance and the PRUD ordinance, which you guys discussed at length, it was noted that there was a possibility of being able to update our moderate income housing reporting to add in those changes that we want to make to the to those two ordinances, and that's the big bulk of what Alika has proposed. She also discussed these changes with the city council to see whether or not that might be something that they would be interested in. Also, but since we have to change the PRUD and the cluster subdivision, that was the kind of why we're looking at making those changes. There's also reviewing the existing ADU ordinance to reduce any further regulations. And, you know, continuing to report on the development, on certain developments. Continue to monitor the use of the ordinance regarding eliminating impact fees related to moderate income housing. So some of it was just cleanup, some of it was additional because of the work that you guys had done the last several months.
I believe you're over the limit of the word whereas for the rest of the year.
Maybe. I get an unlimited amount. Didn't you know that? It came with the law degree.
Yeah, I guess you get it at law school, don't
Is,
you?
is your yearly bonus dependent on whereas use?
On how many whereases I use, it possibly might be. I can neither confirm
I
nor
would
deny
write that
that
into your contract
allegation.
next time.
I do have one little thing under goal number 6, the completion time. The last sentence should probably say report on all ADUs that come in.
You're so picky about these things, Jeff.
Hey, it's an ordinance.
Well, actually, is it an ordinance? Is it, no, it's a resolution.
Oh, okay.
Do we need to enter public hearing before we do that?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I make a motion to enter public hearing to consider the amendment on the moderate income housing resolution.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to enter public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are in public hearing. If anyone in the audience or online would like to raise their hand or speak up. All right, Robin, anyone online? And I don't really, and that's wanting to speak, and I don't see any big group running up to the microphone, unless you have anything, Garth?
I will make a motion to leave public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to leave public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, thank you. We are out of public hearing. We'll have further discussion on this item. Any other questions, concerns?
Besides the grammar change. I'm glad you caught it.
Hey.
What was the change? I missed.
Is goal 6, completion
Oh, 6.
timeline.
Yeah. It's become a challenge to find something.
It's true.
Natalie used to do that all the time.
I know.
Hey,
Just
somebody's
got
gotta
here just in
take
time.
over.
Right, that's right.
I'm glad we're revisiting the AD ordinance.
Still spelled there wrong all the time, so.
I feel like it's a little restrictive.
Yep,
E-I-I-R.
we need them. All right, with that being said, so we're out of public hearing at 12. So then 13, we're on 13 now, discussion and action. So we've had our discussion a little bit prior. Any other further discussion? Then if no more discussion, I'm ready for an action. If we're ready for a motion.
I move that we recommend to the city council amending the moderate income housing
With that change.
resolution. Oh,
With that just one change, right?
with that one change, thank you.
Okay,
The
have a
one that I
motion?
pointed.
What's that?
I'll second.
Oh, yeah, it works. Okay, we have a motion and a second. With that one change, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Okay, motion carries for agenda item number 13. And before we move to 14, I neglected to introduce Garth Day. Amy, would you like to just give everyone a little introduction? Not to put you on the spot, but he's kind of this mystery man in the audience and seems to have a lot of information, so people might not understand his role. So if you want to explain, Amy?
So last week, I put in the city council approved a contract for my company to provide interim planning services until we hire a planner. And my associate, Garth, is an amazing planner and has been, and was community and economic development director up in Box Elder, and works for a builder doing entitlements, and just, as you could see, is incredibly knowledgeable.
Thank you. Thank you for your input tonight. So,
Yeah,
I think Amy could do this all by herself. I'm sure of it, but we'll allow her to have a cohort to help her out here. But we appreciate your knowledge and input.
One thing that I hope in a future meeting, in the near future, we can maybe talk about some structural changes that we've started to make in the front office on getting the process a little more streamlined for everyone. Not not to make it go faster, but to make it more effective. Allow the staff to have a little more time to review stuff, and to avoid maybe some contention things at meetings where people come here with a certain expectation and then have to live with another one. So I suggested to Amy that maybe we talk about maybe some structure inside your meeting, how your presentations go, and trying to make that work. I've spent a lot of time in the public sector, been a planner since the early 90s, and had a long public service career with Box Elder County and Cache County and North Ogden and South Ogden and around. So I hope I can help you, and I'm available to you whenever you need. So
Great, thank you.
thanks.
Thank you. You were just the mystery man that we didn't really address. And I did talk to Amy too. I thought it might be helpful. So watch your upcoming agendas. We might have a work session, maybe even a half hour before a regular meeting, just to maybe go over some procedural things, just to kind of help give us a little in-service. So maybe our meetings won't be as long if we can maybe address some things. Is that what you
Well,
think, Amy?
that's the hope, and we were looking at wanting to do it on September 11th, like meeting at 5:30. Hopefully that meeting's, okay, I don't want to say this out loud. I'm not
still
going to
on
say
record.
it. I'm not going to say it. So, but the hope is that, we're bringing stuff, putting it on the agenda when we have complete applications, when we have all of the information, so that you guys can make the best decision that you can moving forward. And it's not, well, why don't we have this, or why don't we have that? It's like, well, we can get it. Garth and I both agree that it makes it easier for everybody, and it makes it easier for you guys to track too, as to making sure everything is, we have complete applications on everything, and that all of the department heads who need to see whatever it is, like, either Dan with code enforcement or Ed with engineering, has been able to review it and be able to move forward with things. So
Yeah, and I think we could use a little checkup in our procedural things to keep things more streamlined. So I think that's a great idea.
we're hoping to standardize a bunch of stuff, like with forms and checklists, so that everybody is just on the same page as to what is required, and then nobody can question, well, nobody told me that, or, why is it that it's just being brought up, now, or that sort of thing. We're hoping that that'll help with customer service too, and being able to move forward.
Great. Thank you. No 100-page packet?
Hoping not to have 100-page packets anymore, that you have because some of the engineering stuff you don't necessarily need to see. You don't need to see the, but there's some of the stuff, yeah, you do need to see. And that's really what, because if it's too big, are you guys going to read every single page? Be honest. Jeff doesn't count, he's the anomaly, but the rest of you, I mean,
I think
seriously.
Jeff and George will,
George will read every
yes, they
page,
probably will.
I'm certain of it.
And we might skim through it. All right, well, thank you. All right, with that being addressed, agenda item number 14.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. See you in 2 weeks or 3 weeks?